just got two things to say right now. First, I want to thank Accucare. They are awesome, our great sponsor. Get there. If you haven't been there yet, make an appointment, get to Accucare, especially towards the end of the season when your body needs to get that extra push and be healthy on the football field. Rehabilitation, recovery, they are the best. Make an appointment, call them and tell them you're coming. All right. The Shore Football Report is definitely endorsing going to Accucare. They're the best out there right now. And they have athletes going there around the clock, all sports, and that's that. And also, when you're transitioning to another sport, your body is gonna be needing this Accucare treatment because you're using different body parts. So just make sure that you utilize Accucare, located in Brick. They are the best. I love being associated with them. They are part of the team, the Shore Football Report team. All right. The other thing I want to say is this: subscribe to the Shore Football Report YouTube channel. Every one of you, when you watch it, click subscribe. It's free. It's free. Turn the notifications off if you don't want to hear it, but subscribe. By you subscribing, says thank you. I need 1,000. I want 1,000 subscribers. Please, 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 please subscribe. Scott Stump says I don't say it enough on our show. That's why we don't got 1,000 subscribers. But subscribe. All joking aside, it's the cool thing to do. All right, join the Shore Football Report team. We got so many things that are going to be going on our YouTube channel, not just our talk shows. We're going to have extensive all-star team coverage that we're going to do. Also, yes, you've been asking, the Stumpy Awards, they're coming back. The Stumpy Awards are coming back from 8 years ago, and I know you guys are going to love it. So we're going to have all my all-star teams, all county, all shore, all division, my rankings of players, because I changed things up and seeing how guys are playing, adding the freshmen, the 2026s are going to be included in that rankings too. It's a lot of stuff, all going to be on our YouTube, the Shore Football Report YouTube. Subscribe. You won't want to miss it. In the off season, I'll be doing things around the clock for recruiting, talking with college coaches and coaches from all over the country will be on my talk shows throughout the off season. There's no off in my season. All right. Subscribe to the Shore Football Report. And also, more importantly, make an appointment to Accucare. Accucare Physical Therapy and Sports Medicine in Brick, New Jersey offers a state-of-the-art facility with all the best and current treatments. With athletic trainers, massage therapists, and doctors of physical therapy, Accucare has everything you need to stay healthy and perform at the highest level. Cupping, stretching, laser therapy, compression boots, and a full-body cryo chamber are just some of what you can expect at Accucare. Check out their website and social media links in my bio. No prescription is needed to see them. So call them today and start feeling and performing at your best. Again, thank you to Accucare for sponsoring the Shore Football Report.
All right, now moving up to Central Jersey Group 2, another short conference team that nabbed the number 1 seed. That's Raritan, who was in last year's championship game fell to Haddonfield. They're back to take another crack at it, but now an old nemesis and a team that's perennially in the state finals and winning them, Rumson Fairhaven, as the number 2 seed. Monmouth Regional also with a playoff appearance. They will play Rumson in the first round in one of the few games that features 2 shore conference teams going against each other. I mean, let's be honest. On the surface, it's Raritan versus Rumson. Looks like what it's going to be the championship game. But who would you consider the favorite in that scenario?
I bet you if you and I draw cards, it would be, I would probably say Rumson. You would say Raritan. And we both would agree on that. If you look at Rumson, now they're Group 2. They were Group 3 before. And you look at their bracket, it's kind of a clear path to kind of get to the final. Right?
Yes.
And now you
feel like they're going to be a heavy favorite over Monmouth Regional and over the winner of Oakcrest Del Valle. You're right. I'm not going to say it's a layup. Nothing's like in stone, but the path seems pretty clear for them to get to this.
I think that Oakcrest is going to get upset by Delaware Val right from the get-go with that. So I just see Rumson, and anytime when there's an upset, usually they used up all their mojo for that round, and the next round is like, we're done.
This is really a question of, like we talked about the American division, right? Teams that played a brutal schedule during the regular season, which Rumson did. They're coming off a lopsided loss to the number 1 team in the shore, RBC, or number 2, depending on how the coaches vote week to week. But you had that, they've played Donovan, they played Middletown South, they played everybody in that division. They played Toms River North outside of the division. So they've seen everybody.
Well, remember,
Raritan has had a tough game against Point Borough, who's undefeated. A good win over a solid St. John Vianney team, but you can't say that Raritan's schedule is anything close to what Rumson just played. So that'll be the question, is Rumson way more prepared than Raritan?
Well, I see Rumson like Toms River North last year. Toms River North finished last in the American division, but yet went to the finals in the South Jersey Group 5. Why can't Rumson do that in Group 2? Right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, Rumson has been in so many state finals in the last 10, 12 years that they're never a team that you would say, oh, that's an underdog or that's a dark horse. No, you'd probably give them the edge here. I mean, my wife works at Raritan, so this will get me killed for saying that Rumson is probably the favorite here. But I mean, Raritan has showed incredible resilience too. They had a tough stretch in the middle of the season, but that was a huge win over St. John Vianney.
Yes, it was
36-33 when Vianney had won 5 in a row.
They got healthy very quickly too.
Right, and Vianney almost beat Point Borough.
Mm-hmm.
So to put 36 points on them was really impressive, and it shows Raritan has the offense where if this game gets kind of crazy, if they make it to Rumson but my other thing is Raritan, their side of the bracket I think is going to be a little bit more difficult than to just roll to the finals. I believe.
Yeah, but I like Rumson's path to the final. I think Delaware Valley is going to use a lot of energy to upset Oakcrest. And I think that Rumson is familiar with Monmouth, and Monmouth is a little different than the American division teams. And no discredit to Coach Wendell, who's doing a great job over there. But I think it's a Raritan-Rumson kind of going to a final. And I know that the Shore Football Report will be at that championship.
And it's funny because it's always confusing to me that, like, I want to say, oh, this is the Central Jersey Group 2 final, right? Because it's Raritan up in Hazlitt and potentially against. No, this is the South Jersey Group 2 bracket, which doesn't even make any sense. Meanwhile, Point Borough, which is way south of those 2 teams, is in the Central bracket. I'll never understand it. But, Middle Township, the team that Raritan's going to play in the first round, they have a running back who has 700 yards rushing, Remy Rodriguez. He's had some Achilles issues. But, they should obviously take care of that game. The real question is, will the winner of Johnson and A.L. Johnson and Pleasantville be a problem for Raritan?
They hired a real young coach, a 23-year-old coach. I have somebody that I care very, very much about in Pleasantville, Nazim Lee. He played for me his sophomore season, is now one of their star wide receivers and DBs. They turned it around. Pleasantville hasn't been good for many, many years, but whatever they did this year, they're the 4 seed, playing for, the right to move in the next round. So, but I just see Raritan, they are built for this time of the year. Coach Petruzzi has his teams 5-3, 4-4, 3-5, and then they get on a winning streak, and then they're 7-5, playing for a championship and all that. Danny Calicari, Kieran Falzone. They got some dudes there, and they're their playmakers, and I think they're going to make some plays. And I think Raritan's going to get back to where they ended last year, losing to Haddonfield in the finals.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, that's certainly true. That I think that when you look at all the brackets and the Shore Conference's chances, this is one of them where I feel pretty confident that a Shore Conference team is winning this bracket.
I would put my money down on that. If my wife wasn't looking, I'd put another $1 down on it. Yeah, I think it looks pretty good that Raritan and Rumson have a nice shot.
And now we move on to Central Jersey Group 2, where undefeated Point Borough, which is a defending sectional champ from last year, that won South Jersey last year. They're now in Central Jersey. They're the Lone Shore Conference team in this bracket, but obviously a major factor in this bracket as the top seed, as a team that's, you would say, favored to win it, but not by some huge margin, because the team that stunned them in the bowl game last year by a single point, Haddonfield, they are in this bracket. I'm sure we talked about how Toms River North badly wants another game against Kingsway after what happened last year. Point Borough is pretty much the same way with Haddonfield in this bracket. Haddonfield is the 2 seed, so they wouldn't meet until the championship game. Let's talk about Borough. I mean, they had to get out barely alive in overtime against St. John Vianney last week. Was that a good thing in the sense that was their first hard fourth quarter and beyond game of the year where they had to scratch and claw to get a victory? Did that help them to play a game like that going into the postseason?
Well, yeah, against Barnegat, it was 7-0 with 3 minutes remaining in the first half. And they were like, what's going on? Why aren't these plays going 60 yards? They're only going 7.5. And then they played St. John Vianney and had a win in overtime. You know that if Vianney kicked their extra point, the game was over. They missed it too. So Point Borough is ready. I mean, they were ready game 1. You know that when we saw them against Manasquan. It's just, I don't know how Coach Staub's feeling that 2 sectional champions are in the same bracket. 2 defending, right? Point Borough and Haddonfield are in the same bracket now.
Central Jersey last year. Point Borough won South Jersey. They played each other in the old.
Somebody's not going to be Haddonfield's got high expectations because they want to be the overall Group 2 champ. So does Borough. One of them's not going to leave the sectionals without a championship. This is a highly, highly competitive group right here. And I can't wait. Hopefully, it's like everybody get out of the way. Let's see these 2 play, But
right. And I think, Borough has the Overbrook game in the first round. Their quarterback is a junior, D'Angelo Conquest. He's got over 1,700 yards passing. But again, Borough a heavy favorite to roll in that game. And it's interesting because, again, we talk about all these teams knowing each other. New Providence plays Willingboro, right? And the winner of that would most likely play Point Borough if Borough handles their business. Borough beat New Providence and Willingboro last year on their way to the state championship to winning the section.
Yep.
So they beat Willingboro in the championship game. So no matter who wins, they're going to see a team that they played in the playoffs last year. So certainly the path is clear for them. And, Haddonfield's an interesting team because I saw them beat Raritan last year. I covered that game. And, they're not one of these teams that gets off the bus and you're like, whoa, my God, look. They're very kind of ordinary looking, no huge big time prospects, but they're extremely well coached. They don't make mistakes. They don't beat themselves. They execute perfectly. If you make a mistake, they're going to make you pay for a 50-yard touchdown. They don't seem quite as powerful, but even last year they kind of snuck into the postseason a little below the radar and then surprised everybody. By the end, they're a great program. They've done a ton of winning in the last 15 years. So it's really a question of, if Borough sees them again, will it be different this time around?
I think it will. Scott, I don't understand it. I step down, and then West Deptford starts having their worst years. That's one of the reasons why I stepped
Well,
out. I
like you
couldn't
talked
beat
about it,
West
Clyde Folsom moved on, hung it up there, and now he's just an assistant. But that's still a good program. Like you said, they're
Yeah.
still a threat, just given their history. But they're an underdog to Gloucester City in this game, and I just it's hard to see anybody getting between Point Borough and Haddonfield as far as the way this bracket's
Well,
going to
West
go.
Effort, Haddonfield are a huge rivalry. So
Yeah,
they always play sometime in the playoffs. They're not playing in the finals. They're going to play in the next round. I think West Effort could beat Gloucester City to create a little bit of a buzz for the next round.
I think, and again, Point Borough wants to get their offense back on track a little bit after getting stymied a lot by St. John Vianney last week. That again, they had to play from behind, I think, which helped them because they hadn't done that all year.
Correct. Yep.
They had to grind out drives instead of hitting the 70-yard run. So that helped them. And I think they learned something about themselves. They could have folded up, when that game got late and they hadn't been in that spot before, and they gutted it out and got the win. So I think that gives them, and it was also a little bit of a wake-up call to them. You're not invincible. You're not going to win every game.
You're not as good as you think you are. Yes.
Right. There are some things we have to fix. There are some areas where teams might frustrate us a little bit. So in a way, I think getting through that game was just so huge for them. And now this is what they've been talking about all year. Not only repeating, they want it all. They want to win the overall Group 2 championship, which the Rardens, the Rumsons, and others really have some say about that. Plus, there's some good Group 2 teams in North Jersey. But this is really, they're like Tom's River North.
Yeah.
This is the time of the year they've been focused on for hundreds of days.
Well, Scott, we were talking about Jameer Howard coming out and all that. Why coaches pull guys out? Connor Ciliento did not play last week. He's averaging 15 yards a carry. Kept him out because they were getting a multiplier, win or lose anyway. The loss wouldn't have hurt him anyway, but they played without him. He's healthy and he's ready to play. They have 4 guys with over 12 yards a carry.
Yeah. You're right. I mean, and I think the other thing that helps in their favor sometimes, because fewer and fewer teams run the triple option now, a lot of these non-conference teams they're playing may not have seen a triple option team all year. And that's a really hard thing to suddenly prepare for and be disciplined for in a week.
Good point. Very good point. Very good point. But storyline is Haddonfield, Point Borough, 2 sectional champs from last year, kind of, getting right there.
And for Point Borough, it's a championship or bust. I feel like in their minds, if they do not win this section, this season was a failure. If
I'm Borough, I want all the distractions. Hey, play West Stepford next round. Play this team. Get them distracted. So I'm excited. Real curious to see how Point Borough now kind of bounces back because St. John Vianney is a good football team. Are they going to get back to midseason form like they were week 0? Or they're going to start, have to work and grind.
And not to get too crazy and get too far down the road, but if Rumson or Raritan wins one section and Point Borough wins the other section, we may have an all-shore conference game.
Are we putting a curse on?
Group 2 finals.
Are we putting the curse on these guys? We got the short conference has got some flavor in this bracket.
Yes, Group 2 is we had a good shot to be playing for it all at the end.